It started raining the same day he showed up with a duffel bag over one shoulder and that easy grin that made it hard to breathe. I told myself it was just a favor, a weekend stay, nothing more. Just a friend I hadn't seen in 2 years, showing up at my quiet ranch in the middle of nowhere because his plans got rained out, and I happened to still answer his calls. Except Cody wasn't just a friend. He never had been. He parked his old blue truck beneath the sagging carport like it belonged there, even though it never had. I watched from the kitchen window, my hand tightening around the coffee mug I'd already reheated twice just to have something to hold. The steam fogged up the glass, but I didn't look away. The truth was, I'd thought about him more times than I could count since college. Back then, we were thick as thieves, late-night diners, road trips with broken AC, him laughing with his feet on my dash like he didn't have a care in the world. And me, watching his profile too long at red lights, pretending I didn't feel the things I felt. When he stepped onto the porch, hair damp from the rain, eyes lit like he was still 19 and reckless, I had to remind myself I was over all. That, "You're still living like a cowboy," he teased the moment I opened the door. "Is that hay in your hair?" "Shut up and come inside before you drown," I muttered, stepping aside. But the warmth in my chest betrayed me. Cody always had a way of walking into a place like he belonged there, kicking off his boots like this was his home too, running a hand through his wet hair, looking around with that familiar curiosity that never seemed to dull. His presence filled the quiet rooms like sunshine after a storm, only this time, the storm was still falling outside, and inside me too. I caught myself watching him a little too long as he laughed at my mismatched mugs, as he leaned against the counter, like it was still our old apartment kitchen, as if we hadn't left so much unsaid back then. "You sure you're okay with me crashing here?" he asked, voice softer now, more sincere. "Yeah," I said. "Course. Mi casa." He raised a brow, teasing. "Su corazon?" I laughed too quickly. Don't push it. But part of me, some hidden, aching part, kind of wanted him to. Cody and I met freshman year, both roped into the same miserable 8 a.m. philosophy class. I only sat next to him because every other seat was taken, and he only spoke to me because he needed a pen. Somehow, that turned into 4 years of friendship. Late-night burger runs, borrowing each other's laundry quarters, and splitting gas money on spontaneous weekend trips that never went where we planned. He was chaos. I was structure. He'd skip class to chase thunderstorms. I made color-coded to-do lists, but somehow we worked. "Remember that time in Tucson?" Cody asked that night, stretching across the couch like he hadn't just driven 5 hours through a downpour to get here. "When your GPS got us lost and we ended up sleeping in the car outside that all-night laundromat?" I smirked. "You," said the laundromat, "was a vibe. You made me sleep with my window cracked because you wanted to hear the spin cycle like it was ocean waves," he grinned. "Yeah, well, you didn't complain when I gave you my hoodie." I didn't. It had smelled like him. Still did, actually. He wore the same damn hoodie now. The sleeves pushed up his forearms, frayed cuffs bunched around his elbows. It was strange how easily he slid back into my life, like no time had passed. But time had passed, and the things I'd buried, things I never dared to say, had only grown louder. We spent the evening like old times, cooking a lazy dinner of grilled cheese and canned tomato soup. Cody claimed he couldn't find the pepper, even though it was right in front of him, just so he could lean a little closer. His shoulder brushed mine. I didn't move. "Still making your sandwiches with way too much butter," he teased. "Still talking like you're Gordon Ramsay when you burn toast." His laugh was easy, like it always had been, but mine felt tighter. Every smile came with a tug of something beneath it. Every casual touch left a trail of heat I tried not to acknowledge. After dinner, I showed him to the guest room. Or tried to. "Well," I said, flicking on the hallway light, This is the part where I pretend I'm not embarrassed you're staying in a room that still has a broken window latch and smells vaguely like cedar and regret. Cody peered inside, then tilted his head. Is that duct tape on the window? Don't judge me. A storm blew it out last month. I haven't fixed it yet. And you're letting me sleep in the wind tunnel? I scratched the back of my neck. Didn't think you'd mind a little breeze. He gave me a look. Dude, it's raining sideways. You're really gonna make me turn into a human popsicle? I hesitated. You could, sleep in my room if you want. I mean, not with me. I can take the couch, my room's warm, and… The bed's big enough, he said, eyes flicking to mine. The silence stretched between us like a wire pulled taut. I'm just messing with you, he added quickly, flashing a grin. But I'll take your room. Couch will murder your back. I nodded too quickly. Yeah, cool, all yours. But as I set out the extra blanket and handed him a pair of clean socks, I couldn't help noticing the way his fingers brushed mine. Not on purpose, probably. But his touch lingered just long enough to leave me blinking too much, heart stuttering in a way it hadn't in years. You okay? He asked, softer now. Yeah, just tired. It wasn't a lie exactly, but it wasn't the truth either. Because in that quiet moment, as he stood there barefoot in my hallway, smelling like rain and home and the past I'd never quite let go, I knew something had shifted, and I wasn't sure I'd be able to bury it this time. By midnight, the storm had turned brutal. The wind howled like it was trying to tear the roof off, and the rain came in sideways sheets. Thunder rolled so hard it shook the old window panes, and the power blinked once, then died completely. Just like that, the ranch fell into pitch blackness and silence, save for the storm's fury outside. I was halfway through lighting the third candle when Cody's voice came from the hallway. Hey, you alive? Barely, I muttered. Power's out. Generator's dead, too, of course. He padded into the kitchen barefoot, wrapped in one of my old flannel blankets, hair tousled, eyes squinting in the dim candlelight. He looked like he belonged in some moody oil painting, light dancing across his cheekbones, a faint crease between his brows. Your place is officially haunted, he said. I swear something tapped on the window. That would be the broken latch I warned you about. Right, he said, eyes wide. So, funny story. The window's now wide open. Wind blew it in. Water's pouring through like it's trying to baptize me. I winced. Crap. He gave a dramatic shiver. I'm soaked and freezing. Do you… I already knew what he was going to ask. My stomach twisted. Come on, I said before. He had to. You can stay in my room tonight. Door locks, bed's dry, just don't hog the covers. He smirked, following me down the hall. You say that like I haven't shared a bed with you before. My breath caught. College was different. He paused, then nodded. Yeah, I guess it was. We didn't speak much after that. The wind screamed outside as we crawled into bed. Him on the right, me on the left, a cautious gulf of mattress between us. But the space didn't feel like safety. It felt like pressure. I lay stiff on my back, staring at the low ceiling, trying to count the cracks in the plaster. I could feel him next to me, the warmth of his body, the subtle shift of weight as he turned, the occasional brush of his arm against the sheets. The flannel blanket we shared felt too thin, or maybe just too intimate. You always this quiet when the lights go out? He asked after a long stretch of silence. Just thinking. Dangerous pastime. Yeah, I've been told. A beat. Then, his voice softer. You okay, really? I feel like you've been… I don't know. Distant. I turned to face him in the dark. The candle on the dresser had mostly burned out, casting just enough light to make out the curve of his cheek, the shape of his lips. He was looking at me. I'm not trying to be distant, I said. I'm just trying to be careful. He blinked. Careful? I didn't answer. I couldn't. My throat tightened. God, if he knew, if he even suspected what it meant to me. Having him here, lying beside me, stealing all the air from the room just by existing. His voice was quieter now. You've changed. Everyone changes. He shook his head, barely perceptible in the dark. Not like this. I wanted to tell him. I wanted to roll toward him and admit everything. The years of pretending, the nights I thought about calling him and didn't, the ache that came every time his name lit up on my screen. Instead I said, "It's late." He exhaled, disappointed, but not pushing. "Yeah, it is." We both tried to sleep, but sleep didn't come. Sometime past 1 a.m., the wind slammed hard against the house, rattling the walls. I flinched without meaning to. Next thing I knew, Cody's hand brushed my arm under the blanket, just the back of his fingers, grazing my skin like he hadn't meant to move. But he didn't pull away. "Cold?" he asked, voice rough with sleep. Little," I whispered. He shifted closer. Just a fraction. The space between us narrowed to inches. I could feel the heat of him, smell the rain still clinging to his skin. His hand stayed where it was, half resting on my forearm, his thumb making the tiniest circles against my skin, like he didn't even realize he was doing it. I was sure he could hear my heartbeat. "Is this okay?" he asked suddenly, and it felt like he wasn't just talking about the touch. My voice cracked. "Yeah, it's okay." Another moment passed, heavy with things unsaid. "I used to wonder," he said into the quiet, "back in college, if you ever..." He trailed off like he couldn't finish, but my breath caught anyway. "Wondered too," I offered. He looked at me again, eyes searching. I wasn't ready to say yes. Not out loud. But I didn't have to. The truth was there, between us, in the way I didn't move away, in the way our hands eventually settled against each other, fingers slowly curling together under the blanket, like we'd done it 100 times before. He didn't say anything else, neither did I. But we didn't fall asleep for a long time. I didn't sleep at all. Not really. Every time I closed my eyes, I could feel him beside me, warm, breathing slow and steady, his fingers still loosely curled around mine under the blanket. It was innocent, almost childlike, like we'd just reached for each other in the dark to feel less alone. But it didn't feel innocent. Not to me. It felt like everything I'd been trying not to want. At some point around 3 a.m., he shifted again. I thought he was asleep, but his voice cut through the quiet. "You're still awake." "So are you." A long pause, then softer. "Yeah, I've been thinking." I turned slightly to face him. He was lying on his side now, facing me, propped up a little on one elbow. Even in the low light, I could see the uncertainty in his eyes, the vulnerability. "You want to talk?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know," he said. "Maybe. I think I need to say something, and I don't know how." I felt my stomach flip. "Try," I said. He exhaled, rubbed the back of his neck. "I keep thinking about that night in college, the night we drank too much and crashed on your dorm floor." I blinked. "The one where you woke up with a boot print on your chest?" "Yeah," he said, grinning faintly. "That one." I remembered that night vividly, mostly because I'd lain awake the entire time, listening to his soft snoring just inches away, heart aching with things I could never say. "You touched my hair," he added. I froze. "You remember that?" He nodded. "I wasn't asleep." "Oh." Silence stretched between us. Not uncomfortable, but charged. "I didn't understand it back then," he said. What that moment meant, or why it stayed with me. But lately, being here with you, it's like everything's coming back, and it all makes sense in a way it didn't before. My heart pounded so loudly I was sure he could hear it. He looked down, fidgeting with the edge of the blanket. "You've always been important to me, more than I knew how to admit. And now that I see it clearly, I don't know how to ignore it." I swallowed hard. "Cody, I don't want to screw this up," he said quickly. "I don't want to make things weird or push you if you don't feel the same. But, God, it's been driving me crazy. Every time you look at me like you're holding something back, it makes me want to reach for you." I didn't know how to speak. Every word I'd ever rehearsed in my head suddenly disappeared. "I thought you were straight," I finally managed. He laughed, but it was soft and shaky. "I thought I was too." I blinked. "And now?" He met my eyes. "Now I think I've been lying to myself for a long time, because if I'm being honest, I've never felt about anyone the way I feel about you." It hit me like a wave. For a moment I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. "You have no idea how long I've waited to hear you say that," I whispered. His eyes widened slightly, like he hadn't let himself hope. "Wait, you mean?" "I've felt it for years," I said, voice raw. "Since college, probably even before. But I was scared to ruin what we had. Scared that wanting more meant losing you completely." "You never would have lost me," he said instantly. "Not ever." I stared at him, trying to read every expression flickering across his face. The disbelief, the relief, the beginnings of something that felt like joy. He shifted a little closer, the blanket slipping down slightly from his shoulder. "So what now?" I didn't answer with words. I just reached for him, slowly, hesitantly, and cupped his cheek in my hand. He leaned into the touch like he'd been waiting for it, eyes fluttering shut. "Is this okay?" I asked, my thumb brushing the edge of his jaw. He nodded. "Yeah, more than okay." I leaned in, heart racing. Our foreheads touched first, then the tips of our noses. There was a pause, one last breath between what was and what could be, and then he closed the space. His lips were warm, tentative at first, like he was afraid of breaking something fragile. But I kissed him back, gently, then deeper. It was quiet, slow, filled with years of things we hadn't said. My fingers slid into his hair, and his hand found my waist, anchoring us there in that shared, silent understanding. When we finally pulled back, he didn't speak right away. He just stared at me, stunned, smiling a little like he couldn't believe it had happened. "That felt right," he whispered. "Yeah," I breathed. "It did." He let out a soft laugh and touched his forehead to mine. "I've wanted to kiss you since I got here. Maybe longer. Then why didn't you?" I was terrified you didn't feel the same. I shook my head, still reeling. "We're both idiots." "Probably," he agreed. "But at least now we're honest. Idiots." We lay back down, facing each other, legs tangling naturally under the covers. The tension that had built between us for so long had shifted, still electric, but softer now, like an ache finally soothed. "I don't know what happens next," I said. "This isn't exactly the place I pictured falling for someone. No heat, no power, a haunted house in a rainstorm." He smiled. "But the company's good," I laughed under my breath. "Yeah, it is." His fingers found mine again, this time without hesitation. Whatever tomorrow held, whatever awkward conversations, labels, questions, or fears, we'd figure it out, together. For the first time in a long time, that thought didn't scare me. It made me feel hopeful. Morning came in soft shades of gray, filtered through the dusty window panes. The storm had finally passed, but the world outside was still slick and quiet, like the land was holding its breath. In the stillness, I opened my eyes to find Cody already watching me. He smiled, sleepy and warm, his hair sticking up in every direction. Morning. Morning, I replied, voice still hoarse with sleep. There was a pause, comfortable for once, before he reached out and ran a hand through my hair, like he was checking if last night had really happened. I half expected to wake up and find you on the other side of the room, he said softly. I raised an eyebrow. You really think I'd bolt after finally getting to kiss you? He grinned. I don't know. You're a mystery, remember? I snorted. You're one to talk. I've been pining over a guy who somehow didn't realize he wasn't straight. Cody rolled onto his back with a groan. God, don't remind me. My bisexual awakening is going to be legendary. Oh yeah? They'll write songs about it, he said, grinning up at the ceiling. The Ballad of the Clueless Cowboy. I laughed, then turned onto my side to face him again. So what now? You go back to your city job. I go back to fixing fences. And we pretend this was just a rainstorm thing? He looked over at me, eyes clear. No, I don't want that. I searched his face, waiting. I want more, he said. I know it won't be simple. My life's kind of a mess right now, and I've got a lot to figure out. But I want to do that with you in the picture, if you want that too. I didn't answer right away. Instead, I reached for his hand and threaded our fingers together. I've waited years to be in the picture, I said. You think I'm going to back out now? He exhaled, and I watched his shoulders relax like he'd been holding that tension forever. Okay, so we'll figure it out together, I echoed. We lay there a while longer, just staring at the old wooden ceiling, our hands still linked between us. So, he said, tilting his head, do I get boyfriend privileges now? Boyfriend, huh? I mean, unless you have a better term for the guy you spooned in a haunted ranch house and kissed senseless during a thunderstorm. I smirked. You're lucky I like dramatic types. He nudged me gently with his elbow. Admit it, you've been picturing this exact moment since college. Not exactly this, I said. In my version, we weren't surrounded by horse, feed, and broken shingles. Cody laughed, then rolled onto his side, pressing his forehead against mine again. Still kind of perfect, though. I nodded. Yeah, it really is. We finally crawled out from under the blankets, the air cold against our skin, but somehow easier to bear now. Cody stole one of my old hoodies and shuffled into the kitchen like he'd always belonged here, and something about that made my chest feel tight in the best way. While he fiddled with the kettle, I leaned against the doorframe and just watched. Him. The way he moved through the space. More relaxed now, like something invisible had shifted between us. Something soft and solid and real. He looked over his shoulder and caught me staring. What? Nothing, I said, smiling. Just glad you came. Cody walked over, wrapped his arms around my waist and kissed my cheek. Me too, he whispered. And for the first time in a long, long while, I believed that things might actually turn out okay. 3 days later, the sun came out for real. Not just a brief glimmer between clouds, but a full-on golden blaze stretching across the horizon like someone finally gave the sky permission to breathe again. The fields were still damp, the fences still broken, but the world felt alive in a way it hadn't for months. Cody stood by the porch railing with a mug in his hands, steam curling up into the morning air. He was wearing that same stolen hoodie, sleeves pushed up, his gaze sweeping over the land like he was memorizing it. Like maybe, for the first time, he wanted to belong to something outside of himself. I stepped out beside him, holding a fresh biscuit wrapped in a napkin. Breakfast. I made them the way you like, burnt edges and a lopsided middle. He gave me a lazy grin. Perfect. We stood in silence for a while, eating and watching 2 barn cats stalk each other in the grass. The quiet between us wasn't awkward anymore. It felt earned, comfortable, like we didn't need to say everything out loud to feel it. Eventually, Cody turned toward me. I talked to my boss last night. Oh? I tried to keep my voice neutral, but my stomach clenched. I'm taking the leave. That sabbatical I always talked about but never had the guts to request. He took a breath. I'm staying. I blinked. Here? He nodded, eyes meeting mine. If you'll have me. I set down my mug on the railing, heart thudding loud in my chest. You really mean that? I do. I've been running so long I forgot what it felt like to stand still and actually want something. He reached for my hand and wrapped his fingers around mine. I want this. You. Muddy boots and broken fences and all. I looked down at our hands. His thumb moved in slow circles across my knuckles. That simple gesture nearly undid me. I've wanted this for a long time, I said. But I didn't let myself believe it could happen. Well, he said, his voice quieter now. It's happening. I smiled. So what are you gonna do? Milk cows? Herd sheep? He rolled his eyes. I was thinking something less glamorous. Maybe help fix the porch roof so we don't get rained on next time. You offering free labor? I'm offering. Emotional support while you do the labor. I laughed, and he leaned in, his forehead brushing mine in that same gentle way he had that first night. Like he still couldn't believe we were here, together, but he wasn't planning on letting go. Down by the barn, a crow let out a raspy caw, and Cody pulled back just enough to look at me fully. Can I ask you something? He said. Course. He pulled something from his back pocket. It was the photo. Our college picture. The one he'd kept all this time. The edges were worn, the corners curled from years of being folded and unfolded. He handed it to me, his gaze steady. Let's take a new one, he said. Right here, right now. My throat tightened. I took the photo from his hands and smiled at it before nodding. Yeah, let's do that. So we set up my phone on the porch rail, angled it just right, and stood shoulder to shoulder in the sunlight. At the last second, Cody turned to me, pressing a soft kiss to my cheek. The shutter clicked. That moment, frozen in light and warmth and something that felt like home, was ours. And for the first time, we didn't need to hope anymore. We were already beginning.